Good afternoon and good evening, race fans. Welcome back to another episode this week of 500 Miles. I'm your host, Adam Relkin, joined by my regular co host. Welcome back.
Hey, it's been a bit. Brody here. I've been like 3 weeks, but I'm back. I'm gonna be back this week and next week for sure. Especially next week because we're gonna go over Sonoma. But we also gotta talk about Dover because Adam and I are going there for the fourth year in a row. I think we're gonna be
Yeah, that's
hanging
correct.
out. So yeah, very excited about Dover just coming up less than 2 weeks away.
Yeah, I'm very excited for it as well. I think going into going into this week, there's still definitely a lot to get into. For this week, we are just coming off of the Chicago Street Race, which some have suggested could be the last one. I mean, I kind of hope it wasn't, but it's something that we will have to wait and see about because we'll get into why in a little bit. So this weekend, it ends up being a sweep from SVG again. Well, he hasn't swept before, but now he's done it, and he now goes 4 out of 6 at races on the Chicago Street Race.
Yeah, and he's incredible. Just I mean, we all knew he was gonna do super well and he was a favorite as usual. And nah, SPG does it again, and this is the first time in history we've had two road courses in a row coming up.
No,
I'm not
no.
I'm not sure
A few
actually.
years, 2023, it was we had the Indianapolis road course, then to Watkins Glen right after.
Okay, okay.
So it's not the first time it has happened, but definitely was still something to definitely keep an eye on about. So in addition, this weekend with SVG end up winning both races. It ended up just being both races were all right. I mean, I know it took a little bit for the Cup race to really get action going, but once Stage 3 rolled around, the action cranked up by 11.
Dude, stage one, I was bored of watching stage one.
Yeah, I know, but it things really cranked up. I mean, towards the end, which is really what I think saved this race. I mean,
For sure.
it ended up being probably about a 6 to 7 out of 10 at the end, but it's something I'll take. I mean, considering we had no rain, first time in the for the Cup side of things that there has not been rain on the Chicago Street Race, so I'm happy for that. I mean, Mother Nature it seemed like Mother Nature was going to screw us over again, but she didn't, and we got through
Yeah.
the whole race without a single drop of rain, as far as we know.
It's funny. There was race ended a little bit before 5:30. It was like 5:20 or whatever. The Cubs game was gonna start at 6, and it ended up being like a 4-hour rain delay. So the
Yeah,
rain came quite literally just minutes after the checkered flag. So they just barely got in, and it was a miracle that they did.
we think.
Had had they thrown that caution, I think there would have been a lot of rain with
Yeah,
just a couple
I
laps to
think I
go.
think I think that would have just ended the race. To be honest, I don't be or everyone because
Probably.
I don't know if we would have wanted everyone waiting like 3 hours to restart the race. I mean, race was going to be over no matter what. I mean,
I probably should have put like slicks on or something. So.
yeah, but there was lightning.
Oh, okay. I
Can't
didn't
I,
realize that.
as far as I remember, you can't race in lightning in NASCAR because of especially after what happened in 2012 when a fan got struck. But I think when it comes down to this, SVG. I mean, even if we had another restart, he was going to win anyway.
Yeah, he was bad fast.
Nobody was going to beat SVG, which is probably why people weren't really complaining as much about it as like some of the prior yellow flag calls. So I think it would be a good time to kind of talk about it a little bit. I mean, just cause I think when it came to the yellow flag, I mean, so first of all, for context, this happened because Cody Ware, he think he had a brake issue. It was
Yeah, he
either
lost the brakes. If
he
you
had a
watch the on board,
yeah,
he goes 100% brake, and then the car just doesn't even
yeah,
stop, and he goes
and
right into the tire barrier.
and that actually was a result of contact from Justin Haley after the restart. His car was, and just for the record, Cody Ware was probably having the best race of his season for sure. Like Cody was running like top 20 all day. Like
Yeah, he was that Arby's car. He was going pretty fast. He
oh
was
yeah,
going
like
pretty fast.
you gotta really give credit to Cody Ware. Like he finally seemed to have a good race going. And unfortunately, contact with Justin Haley resulted in the brakes going, ouch, and went into the wall. And man, and from the replays that I've seen, man, that has got to be one of the hardest hits we've seen in a long time. And just the greatest thing about it all is that Cody Ware walked out okay. He did
Yeah.
mention he was sore. I mean, I would imagine anyone would be sore from an impact like that, but
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
just but was going from like 100 to 0 in like a split second, and he walks
Yeah, he
out of the
was he
car.
was at 93 miles an
Yeah,
hour.
it took him a little bit to get out of the car, but it was just an amazing sight to see Cody Ware walk away from that crash okay. And I know, and this is where it kind of gets a little deep because he got into the tires really deep, and I know NASCAR cited that they thought he would be able to get back going. I know that this has happened before where cars have actually gotten out of the tires, so I can see why they may have been a little hesitant. But I think with what happened on Sunday, you may have to change the precedent just because
For sure.
while it is possible to get out, it's just that if we're gonna rely on that on what's happened before, because they mentioned that Kyle Larson got out of the tires no problem a few years ago.
Mhm.
Cody Ware though, he took a much harder hit. So I think the precedent, and this is just my advice to Juice Hamilton. Juice Hamilton, the NASCAR race director. I don't know if you're watching this, probably not, but I think uh, I think in terms of how to call this in the future, I'd say even if a car goes into the tire barrier for as little as 1 second, caution. Like
Mm.
even if they get out 5 seconds later, that should be a caution automatically. Like in all honesty, I think from now on, while yes, the drivers definitely can get out quickly, you also have to consider that you have to like reset the tires. Like you got to reset
Yeah.
all the tire barriers. Like I know this happened with Leland Honeyman where they thought maybe he'd get out, but
Mhm.
like I think last year at the Roval, but like I think when it comes to something like this, I think what's going to have to happen is you're going to have to potentially take care of that like with just throwing the caution no matter what. Like just going forward. I'm not saying that we have to make judgment calls again, but I think just in order to stop the judgment calls, just throw it no matter what.
Mhm. Yeah,
Even
Denny
if
Hamlin actually had some comments to say about this. I'm gonna pull it up. So,
And I know that
um,
uh, just uh, just wanted to briefly mention, and I know that there's going to be
yeah,
fans that are going to start complaining afterwards if a guy gets out of the barriers after 5 seconds. They're going to be like, what? Why is there a caution? Why is there a caution? He's back going." Well, the thing is, because it's hard to make these judgment calls, and NASCAR isn't good at making them, you may as well just throw it anyway. So like,
yeah,
it's just something that it's a bit irky and money. And there would also have probably been those people that would have been like, "Oh, they screwed over SVG. They threw it right before the line." Like that would have happened again like last year at the Roval. So like I think you just got to unfortunately this wasn't going to favor anybody. Like
yeah. There was no
it's a
good way to do it.
because if we threw the caution, and I know SVG probably would have won anyway, it just would have set people like, "Oh, why are we getting overtime again?" Like it would have set people into a wreck anyway.
Yeah, we haven't had overtime. I remember earlier in the season there were so many overtime finishes, but we haven't had it nearly as frequently over the past
No.
2 3 months, which has been really nice. But anyways, I want to hit Danny Hamlin's quote on actions detrimental today. He said, "This is Denny Hamlin. This was not a good officiated race, no question about it. That was a massive hit. You've got to throw the caution immediately. That's not a caution I would have liked to have seen, by the way." So he's acknowledging that the caution, he wouldn't have wanted to see the caution, but also that you got to throw it because it was a big hit. Which is
Yeah.
pretty much exactly how I feel, and it seems like how you feel. It was all like, yeah, it would have sucked to see a caution there. However, you need to throw it. He went head on, lost the brakes. I mean, he did get the car slowed down because if you watch the
Yeah.
onboard, they showed the onboard after SVG's interview on TV, and Cody did jerk his wheel to the right to slow down by grinding against the right side, which was good. He probably would have hit a 120,
Yeah.
130 without it, but still, it was like a not a fun looking hit.
No.
For
This was
sure.
apparently one of the hardest hits in the next gen, from what people are saying.
Really?
I think
Jeez.
Tommy Baldwin implied something about it over on Door Bumper Clear. the other day, where he kind of implied that it may have been one of the hardest hits in car history. But again,
Wow,
like, but even then, with all the safety advancements, he was completely okay, which I'm really happy about. Which
for
and
sure.
Cody Ware has taken so many hard hits over the past few years. Like, I know Texas, he took a massive hit, which
I
at the
remember Texas was an insane hit.
that and like he broke his legs from that.
It was a ankle, but yeah.
Ankle. I'm sorry.
It was
And
a, some sort of ligament injury in his right ankle from
yeah,
that, yeah.
and I can see why Denny Hamlin would be a little upset about it. Would be upset about it because of and back. And I know this is before you began watching the sport. This is 2011 at Watkins Glen. He took a head-on hit into the tire barriers at Watkins Glen. It was a
Oh,
pretty
jeez.
hard hit. Kurt Busch also had a similar wreck in that same race. So I could definitely see why he'd have strong opinions like that. I mean, I know when it comes to officiating, I mean, we haven't really seen drivers speak out about it. I mean, I know some have spoken about it in the past, but Denny Hamlin, I mean, what I think he kind of, and when he was talking about officiating, I think he also was talking about not just that moment. I think he was also talking about the moment with Josh Berry earlier in the race, which
Mhm. Yeah.
that confused me. I won't lie. I think what they said was they thought he was going to get back going. Like, but again, I mean, and while they did throw the yellow, it still took too long to throw it. Like, I think it was a whole lap or something when they threw it. And the Cody
Mhm.
and in terms of time lengths, Jeff Gluck mentioned this. It took 34 seconds for them to throw the caution for the Cody Ware incident.
Jeez.
That's what Jeff Gluck mentioned. So like, Tucson Hamilton. I mean, you probably know more than both of us regarding officiating, but take our advice. Just take the advice we gave today. I mean, we're not being rude to you. I just think it would be smart to take the advice we just gave you today regarding how
Absolutely.
to officiate these road courses. And I mean, I'm not, and I mean, and we're not saying what some other guy said on Twitter. There was some guy on Twitter that said, "Don't go to street courses anymore if they can't officiate." Heck no.
No, I'm
Like
not
that.
for that.
That's
But the thing is, they should learn. Like, I have
yeah.
dabbled in a little bit of supercars, and their officiating, they most race mostly on street courses. Their officiating's phenomenal. Just learn a little bit from them. I'm sure
Yeah,
SVG, Will
I
Brown,
think
Cam Waters, Brody Kostecki could give some insight to them,
yeah,
honestly.
I think if you I think another idea could be to have like a different race director for the road courses. Like Tucson Hamilton, you can keep your job on the ovals, for example, but I just think that or maybe you have an additional race director for like if you have two race directors on the street on like the road and street course. I don't think that's ever been done, but it's something that maybe wouldn't necessarily be I don't think it would be a terrible idea, but if you have multiple people that make the judgment calls, or if you have more people that can relay the information, like it's just that I think when it comes to officiating road courses, it's more harder. I think you need more eyes
Mhm.
than what they want.
Especially with
So
a course that's not an oval.
no,
Especially with a course that is, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like 2 squares, but it's a I
yeah,
mean, it's a city course. I mean, you need to have more than one.
yeah. I just think that, but it's something that I think we definitely will be. I think it's something that we definitely will be looking into. I mean, going into the next few weeks. So I think also this weekend we also had more eliminations from the bracket challenge. And what's interesting about the bracket challenge now is nobody who's won a race this year is left. Like,
I
well,
know.
I don't know if
Ty Dillon, can we talk about Ty Dillon, by the way? What if he wins it all?
that would be amazing. I mean, people could actually be happy about it because, well, it doesn't count to anything. It only counts for money. So, I'd be happy if it happens for him because, it's something that, that 10 team really could use a boost in. So, like, I really think, and just remember, he's the last seed. He was the last seed in the tournament.
I know.
And so, like, it's what makes it really special. So, like, I'm gonna try to see if I could pull up the bracket, uh, NASCAR bracket. So like I'm curious what the bracket looks like for Sonoma now. So for Sonoma, or for the eliminations, we had Brad Keselowski who wrecked out very early, and that wreck was pretty massive. I'll just get into that. That was a massive crash
Yeah,
involving multiple guys there. Like it was Brad, Suarez, Hocevar, Austin Dillon, Will Brown. That was sad because I
I
really
know.
wanted to see Will Brown run. I really wanted to see Will Brown make it through the whole race. That was
Yeah,
sad.
you want to see those. You always want to see those open cars
Who
make it
else?
through.
Who else made it through? Who else was involved in that wreck? I forget.
Oh, well, I think Wallace got tagged, but then he had the further later incident with Bowman. Oh man,
Yeah,
I have to pull it up.
Todd Gilliland was involved as well. I think I'm just trying to remember off my memory. So between the eliminations, we had Keselowski, Bubba Wallace eliminated to Alex Bowman, and wow, this was where things really turned up. And I'd argue more people were talking about the beef between drivers than the officiating call after the race. Like there was more talk about that, and probably also Ty Dillon squeezing his way through again.
Mhm,
So like when you look at it, when you saw looked at this, like that, I think this was like the last 10 laps. Like that was insane. Like
mhm.
you had Alex Bowman and Bubba Wallace going at it with each other. Kyle Busch was also beating and banging around with these guys too, and he ended up getting through, and he finished fifth. And what's kind of sad is that this is Kyle Busch. This is only his second top five of the season
Wow.
for Kyle Busch. Like that's depressing. I
That
and
is insane.
I hate saying that because I mean I want him to do good. It's just that what's happened? Like he's and like and yes, to his credit, he did do a good job coming back from a penalty and also a spin earlier. So like it was really his typical unfortunate luck or run of the mill luck that he's had these past few weeks. Like Pocono spun out on his own. Like Kyle has just what happened? Like
I don't know.
I know he's old, but like Denny Hamlin is 44 and he's not driving like that. Like what
I
happened?
know. I don't know what happened to Kyle Busch.
Yeah, but Kyle Busch he ended up getting a top 5, but yeah, the last one was at Coda. And this is a stat someone brought up to me. It's been 29 races since Kyle Busch has gotten the top 5 on an oval.
Mm,
Yeah, on an oval track.
that's
29
ridiculous.
races. Yeah, like something's going on. Like yeah, and then another one of the shocking ones, and this happened in like one of the last few laps. Like it may have even been like right before the caution. John Hunter Nemechek bumps out Chase Elliott. That was big.
Yeah,
And then
I noticed that. Yeah, there's a the whole in-season bracket thing was just a big mistake. Starting off on a super speedway and then having these road courses, it's just making things so goofy. Like, look how Ty Dillon's doing.
and then Eric Jones ended up with a few laps to go getting Stenhouse. Stenhouse actually was caught up in that melee towards the end,
Mm,
which also took him and a few other guys around. Stenhouse, thankfully for Stenhouse, he did decide to get the car into one of those areas, like cutoff areas or runoff areas,
yeah,
which that thankfully prevented NASCAR from throwing the caution. But Eric Jones, he ends up making it to the next round. There was also Ryan Preece uh, knocking out Noah Gregson. Gregson, did he? I don't think he finished the race, but he ended up. If he did, he was like many laps down
I'm not sure.
because
Adam, can
he.
you give me a sec? My phone is getting blown up right now. If you want to continue talking, I'll be back in just a minute. I gotta
Yeah,
mute.
yeah,
My phone
yeah,
is.
yeah. That's all right. So, in addition, we also had Tyler Reddick, Carson Hocevar, because of that Hocevar wreck, Reddick ends up beating Ryan Preece. Excuse me, no, Reddick ends up beating Carson Hocevar. Hocevar ended up getting loose on lap 3, ends up causing that large wreck at the beginning of the race. Ty Gibbs with a second place finish, his first runner up since Darlington last year. He ends up beating out AJ Allmendinger, who a lot of people thought was going to make it through. And then the last one was Zane Smith and Chris Buescher. And Chris Buescher, I know, had a penalty. I think he had a penalty early on. or something like that. Zane Smith ends up beating him, and Zane Smith will face off against Ty Gibbs. So we'll definitely get into these bracket matches later on the show. See who we think is going to beat who for Sonoma. It's going to be very interesting. So, additionally, if I go to the race results, we also had, uh, if we go to the race results for this weekend, Allmendinger still ended up finishing sixth, but he still got knocked out. We also had some other surprise runs. Austin Hill came home in ninth, like a ninth place finish for Austin Hill, and this isn't a super speedway. Like Hill, and this was on pace too. Like Austin Hill, running one of his few cup starts. Like, do we think Austin? Like, do we like? I think Austin Hill might honestly just be cup ready at this point. Like I know it's difficult to find a third charter. I know Austin Hill recently did mention in an interview that he has declined opportunities to run in Cup, but Austin, like I think if Richard Childress bought a third charter, like this would be a good time because like I mean I know the charter market isn't too good right now, but this wouldn't be a bad opportunity to pick up one. In addition, as we mentioned, Zane Smith, John Hunter Nemechek, they ended up finishing top 15. Riley Herbst gets a top 20. I want to give a big shout out to Catherine Legg. Catherine Legg, for all the slack that people give her, this was a great race for her. Probably the best we've seen her run in NASCAR, like this year, and maybe even as a whole. I know she's had good runs in Xfinity before with JD Motorsports, but Catherine Legg, I am so proud. Like, and just for context, people were thinking that it was going to be either her or the 66 that were going to miss the race. Both of them made this race, and Corey Heim unfortunately ended up not making the race. And what's kind of sad about that is that it was also Corey Heim's birthday, so that does at the same time kind of make it depressing. But Corey, he's got more cup starts later this year, so we'll see how he does there. But Catherine Legg, like she's I know that, and she still made the field despite getting into trouble like in practice, and I'm just really proud of her because like her lap times were also really good for the equipment, and also Josh Bilicki in the 66, 21st, and as I mentioned, Legg got 19th. Bilicki in 21st, he had a great run as well, and Josh Bilicki, he's a proven road racer, already proven. I'm so proud of him for what he's done, and I just really hope that we really see him progress. So, as we mentioned, there were a few other unfortunate DNFs. Also, William Byron ended up finishing in last. They were having some mechanical trouble early on. That was surprising as well. Cole Custer, I know, was also having mechanical trouble throughout the race as well. So that was a shame for him. After I remember he ran really good back at Mexico City. But another interesting moment that we saw during the race, and this is something that was a little on the sadder side. On like with like 15 laps to go, a caution came out, not for weather or rain, but it came out because an ambulance had to get through the track, and that was pretty sad to see because this has something that has not happened since 2007 at Dover, if I'm not mistaken. But I do wish. Now we have not. As far as I know, I have not seen any updates regarding the fan from that moment. But that was a really scary moment, regardless. And I'm just thankful that NASCAR was able to get that fan transported quickly as
You're referring to
possible.
the caution from the ambulance.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, what ended up happening there? I saw on Jeff Gluck's Twitter about that, and I didn't really catch
yeah.
it. I didn't hear any updates. Was there anything?
No,
What went on?
I haven't gotten any updates, but they did have to transport the ambulance between turns 3 and 4, hence why they had to throw the caution. And as I mentioned before you got back, this has not happened since 2007 at Dover when they had to do the same thing. And I think this had happened at some of the older tracks as well, like Bristol, Martinsville, Darlington. Like this has happened at tracks like those, I'm pretty sure before. So like in
What,
the
throwing a caution during a
for an ambulance, yeah, it's
hmm.
happened before, and again, I mean, we wish our best to whoever this fan in the infield was. I just hope that, and I'm just hoping we end up getting more positive news about it. So, as I mentioned about the Cup race, we also had. I know there was also some complaints about TNT's broadcasting. I just feel that, and I know people were asked about it. Like Denny Hamlin on Access Detrimental did also ask Dale Earnhardt Jr. about that because he asked him what happened with the broadcast because Hamlin I think was like this doesn't look good, and he said, "Oh,
Mhm.
we have a new race director." So like I find that interesting because this is only TNT's second race, and they've already had one race director, now two, in two races.
Mhm.
So like, I don't know what happened. I think that might be why the broadcast may not have been as good as Atlanta because someone who may just because someone who's got different access to cameras. Like they're not used to cameras and such. I mean, NBC's presentation of the Chicago Street Race for the past 2 years, I thought was a lot better. But at the same time, I TNT is also brand new to the well, not brand new to the sport, but haven't been in the sport since 2014.
Mhm.
I can kind of see why maybe they're still trying to get their feet going again. I mean, I'm not really gonna. If we're in year three and the same problem, year three and the problem still persists, maybe it'd be time to talk about it. But even then, I didn't really see it as much of an issue as Fox's broadcasting uh, when it came to TNT. But I think it's something that people probably did have a right to ask about. It's just that I don't think that it's something that we really need to be very worrisome about, unlike Fox.
Yeah, I mean, I quite enjoyed the broadcast, honestly. Like, I had no problems with it. I thought it was good. I much prefer NBC's, obviously. Like,
Yeah,
NBC's always going to be supreme. But the TNT
and
podcast
Amazon.
was actually really solid. Like,
Yeah, I mean they didn't do terrible. It's just that some. I think people are also spoiled by how good Amazon did in all.
Yeah, so I actually completely forgot that Prime did their coverage. Prime's coverage was incredible. I loved at the end the commercial free till checkered.
Yeah, and I
That
think
was really awesome.
and I think just being on streaming itself is how we even could do that. So like
Mhm.
with TNT, you're on cable again. You gotta air commercials to make money, but with streaming, you're not on a tight schedule really. So it's something to also think about. But when it came to this, like I know some people also raised concerns about them going to side by side commercials during the burnout, which I know is something people have had issues with Fox before during truck races. So I could see why people were upset about that. But anything else we maybe missed from the Cup race?
You think?
Oh yeah, there were a lot of mini spins, but like that's not really anything that like that deep. I know we talked about Kyle Busch briefly spinning. Oh yeah, Hendrick did not have a good race this weekend.
Yeah.
This was a
It
bad
was,
weekend for Hendrick. I did talk
it
about
was.
Catherine Legg and Josh Bilicki while you were away, but this was not a good weekend for Hendrick Motorsports.
Unfortunately. No, Catherine Legg, what did she end up finishing? I honestly
19th.
forget. You
I
know what?
was. I'm really
Let's take it.
happy.
That's good.
She's the highest finishing female since Danica Patrick uh,
And
in the
then what
Cup
was
Series.
Patrick's best finish? Like
Well,
ever.
well,
I
her
have to look
best.
this up now.
Well, her best finish was sixth, but
Sixth place, okay.
I think the stat I might have found might have been for road courses, but I'm not 100% sure. But regardless, I'm really happy for Catherine. Like the Xfinity race was also interesting, but at the same time, it was again mostly the SVG show
Mhm.
again.
No,
So like
he did. He's incredible. I think he's gonna be one of those guys that's
he might
there for
he
Xfinity
might
and just win every
he
single time.
might be the best road ringer we've ever seen in the sport, to be honest.
It's funny you mention that because whenever, when people say road course ringers, over the past couple years, they'd be like, "Oh, we have a road course ringer," and then guess what they end up finishing? 28th every single time. SVG was brought in as a ringer, and he's an actual ringer. He actually competes for wins on road courses. He's like Boris said, actually competes for wins on road courses. Nowadays, I feel like the term road course ringer and like dirt ringer, whenever they brought in like Jonathan Davenport or whatever, is I feel like the term is just lost.
Last year, but SVG has now gone first. first, 40th, first, first in his record at Chicago. He's only missed one race at Chicago, which was the Xfinity race in 2023, which Cole Custer won. So, and I mean, he ended up having a really good race. He led the most laps. I'm pretty sure he ended up getting the fastest lap. Connor Zilisch was chasing him down at the end, but he just couldn't make the pass on him. But Zilisch, he and SVG are going to be fun to watch, especially when they both race against each other in Cup in Watkins Glen for sure. That's going to
Yeah,
be
I
fun.
forgot that Zilch is making it up there. Yeah, it's gonna be a really, really interesting
I
watch,
want to,
and I'm
yeah,
excited.
I want to give another shout out to some of the other underdogs in the Xfinity race, like Austin Green, who came home in ninth again. Like this kid is, as I said last a few episodes ago, he's amazing on these road courses, and he's continuing to do it. Alex Labay as well. He came home in 12th. Great run for him. Like he's and the '07, by the way, is now ahead of the 18 in Xfinity owner points.
Really, the SS Greenlight car. My
Yeah, the
God.
'07. I mean, it shows how horrible Sawalich's luck has been this year. I mean, I feel somewhat bad. So like, I feel bad, but at the same time, it's a string of bad luck. Brendan Poole also broke into the top 10 at the very end. And I know Alpha Prime is generally not usually the best at road courses, so I'm really happy for them as well because Brendan Poole knows how to get it done.
He
There
should
was
have one career win.
We know that was stolen, but it's all right. He'll get it in the future. Thomas Annunziata, he also came home in 20th, not 20th,
Yeah, I saw
17th,
his Instagram post. He's
17th,
pretty happy for him.
17th, but yet even though his car was still damaged, like I think he lost a part of like the rear of the car and he still finished in 17th. Like
Mhm.
that was impressive. It was nice to see Casgrella back. Didn't really have the best run though. Uh, Preston Pardus, I know he finished back in 29th, but I want to shout him out because he was having the run of his career. Uh, one of his best career runs in the 50 car. That 50 car is literally based in a small garage in Florida. That's literally where the
Or no.
50 team of Pardus Racing, and that 50 is ran as a tribute to his father Dan, who ran the 50 in Cup in the late 90s. So that's just what I really appreciate about them. Unfortunately, I think he got spun on the last lap or something else happened. Like that was a shame because Pardus was running top 15 all day. I hate that for them because they're like the smallest team competing. I want to say in Xfinity. There were some other.
Probably. I would love. You know what I'd love to see? Just speaking of that, I think it'd be really funny if we let the ARCA guys run on the Chicago street course.
Oh God.
Um, like 30 laps, maybe 30 laps around the Chicago street
Oh
course. That would be
God.
a. That would be. We had to have the full guy. We had to have 30 laps for ARCA, and then ARCA. I guess that would fall under ARCA East.
No, I don't.
ARCA
I don't.
East.
I
ARCA
wouldn't
East
do it.
drives 21 laps around. That'd
I
be
don't think.
entertaining to say the
I'm.
least.
I don't think that's a good idea. But yeah, Jack Perkins. It was a shame to see him have issues early on coming over from Australia. So, but thankfully JGR has another start planned for him at Portland, so that'll be fun to see. I was a little upset as well seeing Andre Castro in the 35 wreck out because he was having a good run in the 35 for Gase. He actually got the 35 in on speed as well, as the 35 needed to qualify in on speed. So that was tough to see that wreck because Andre's a nice kid. And then in addition, with the DNQs, I was really disappointed to see Sage Karam not make the field because that 53 was top 10 in practice, I think, and then the engine unfortunately went kaboom. So I was really sad to see that with Sage because he's a great road ringer as well. He nearly won Road America a few years ago when he drove the 24 for Sam Hunt, and then
I
the
do remember
DNQ,
that.
and then the DNQ that I think everyone knows about. I
Hmm.
Chris Wright ended up not making the race, and
Chris Wright, man.
And I mean, and he did mention, and I can see what happened. I mean, he did mention on Twitter that they were running a short track car, not a road course car. They are bringing a road course car next week, so for Sonoma, it may not be as much of an issue. It's something that we will keep an eye on with qualifying. We'll see if he'll maybe be able to bump out one of those guys that are just below him in owner points or above him, because I know Chris. He's got experience in road racing. He's running IMSA before, so like he does have road course experience, but a lot of people were definitely talking about that DNQ, and I don't think I really would not like to have to explain why. But I think though it's something that we will keep an eye on for this week, as we do have a car that will be going home for Xfinity, and which we will get to
Yeah,
later.
yeah.
So
I think
Sano,
yeah.
so in addition to this past weekend, we also had IndyCar return at Mid Ohio. Scott Dixon wins at age 44, and I could be wrong. I could be wrong on this. This is, I think, like his 20th or 21st consecutive year winning a race in IndyCar. I might be wrong.
Wow, that's actually
I might be
majorly impressive.
wrong. I might be wrong on that, but he has extended his streak even further, and I really am, and it just shows you how amazing of a driver Scott Dixon is. And then here's a stat
Yeah.
that someone brought up: Scott Dixon's year win streak is longer than the amount of years that one of his teammates has been alive. Kiffin
Who would that be?
Kiffin Simpson is 20, and
Dude,
Scott Dixon
that's
is now
crazy.
44. And I mean, you got to give credit to Scott Dixon. He's been doing this for such a long time. Like, everyone is going to know who Scott Dixon is. Like,
Yeah.
I think he's got 7 titles in IndyCar. I mean, that should definitely show you who he is. But
He got
like,
6.
6, my bad. I hope he can get 7 in the future, but I know that's probably not going to happen with as long as Alex Palou is still here. But you also got to consider that this weekend in Mid Ohio, we also had the first non-Kyle Kirkwood or Alex Palou winner, because the two of them have won at least at 3 races apart each other, I think. So
Mhm.
like, that's what kind of makes this interesting, because now someone else finally has won, and this week it ended up being Scott Dixon. And the IndyCar standings this year look very interesting, because Penske was having another bad race. Do you want to take a guess where Joseph Newgarden is in points?
If someone who doesn't watch IndyCar, I'm gonna say he's in 17th place.
19th.
Close. I thought he was like one of the best ones in the
He is
series.
supposed to be one of the best drivers in the series. So like, Penske has really fallen off a cliff in IndyCar this year. Like, they've had so many issues. Like, Scott McLaughlin had issues. Like, there have been races where all 3 cars have had issues. Will Power has had issues too. Like, their highest car in points is ninth in Will Power, and
Jeez.
there's talk that he might be leaving the seat at the end of the year. So like, it's something that we really are going to be watching for. And Mid Ohio, it was an interesting race. I mean, and again, like Scott Dixon, he knows how to fuel save in IndyCar, and he did an impressive job at it. And he ended up taking the win over at the end of the day. It's still Alex Palou leading the points. He's got a over 100 point lead on Kyle Kirkwood. But we're about halfway through the season now, and we actually, I think it's this weekend. Yeah, it is this weekend. They're going to Iowa for a doubleheader for IndyCar. So
They do their Corn Belt races, yeah.
yeah, both were. So I'm curious how the Indy cars are going to do on the short track out in Iowa. That should be fun. But I mean, it's definitely. But as I mentioned, Newgarden ended up finishing last, and like, it's been a season of hell for Joseph Newgarden this year. I really hope that he can. I really hope that he can get it together for these coming few races or next, and just get ready for next year, because it has not been a good year for him or Penske as a whole. But we also had F1 at Britain this week, the British Grand Prix, and honestly, this is a. I'm gonna say that this is a bigger story than. I'm gonna say this is a bigger story than Lando Norris winning in Britain. Nico Hulkenberg gets a podium, and he's like 39, I think, and he's been racing for such a long time in F1, and he finally gets a podium. Like, that might be one of the greatest stories of this entire weekend. Seeing Nico Hulkenberg finally, after so many years of trying, he finished in third and on the podium. Also, the first podium for the Sauber team, or whatever his team is called now, since like I think 2012. I could be wrong. It might be that team's first podium in such a it's their that team's first podium in such a really long time. And he got the pole, and he no, he did not. And like, because of him getting the podium, he broke the record for F1 for most races before a podium. 239 races.
That's a lot of races.
And you got to consider how many races F1 does a year. It's usually over 20, usually around 20-ish. So like I know they've gone to like 24, I think, in the past few years, but like when you consider how fewer races they have compared to like NASCAR, that is a long time. So like I really am happy for Hulkenberg finally getting a podium. Going into Sonoma now.
Before you do,
Yeah,
I think it's worth mentioning that Scott Dixon is officially just 9 wins away from tying AJ Foyt in all-time IndyCar wins.
that is. I hope he gets it. I mean, I don't know if
I
he.
think he will.
I mean, the only thing is, I know he hasn't really won much. I know he hasn't really won as much and hasn't really been as successful, mostly because of Alex Palou. But I really hope he does it.
I mean, if he's still winning at 44, he would
Yeah,
need to win. I
and he's
mean,
turning 45 really soon, I think.
oh jeez. Well, we'll see. We'll see. But it's just, I just think that was worth mentioning.
Yeah. So for Sonoma this week, we do we do have another open car. It is again the 78 of Catherine Legg. So we'll see what happens going to wine country this week. I know a lot of people were saying, "Oh, Sonoma's going to be blazing. It's going to be unbearable." Well, you got to also remember that Sonoma is in Northern California, and the summers in Northern California are generally not that bad as people say they are.
Yeah.
Like I've seen people who've been to San Francisco, which is just south of Sonoma, say that it's cold in the summer there. So like I don't think there's really much to worry about for Sonoma this week in terms of heat. Like I think someone said it was only going to be in the 80s there. So it's not really going to. I don't think the weather's going to be blazing like people are thinking it would be like if we went to Vegas or Phoenix in the summer. God forbid that ever happens. But
Mhm.
Sonoma should be. I think we'll see what happens here, and I'm curious who we can end up. And Sonoma, I know, is not really one of the tracks that ends up putting on the best racing, but last year ended up probably being one of the few great races we've seen at Sonoma. So is that luck from the repave going to continue into this year? Like it's something that I think we'll have to definitely keep track of. And do you have your 5 picks for this week?
I do. Let's take a look. All right. So, obviously, it goes without saying SVG. I mean, it's a road course. You have to pick him for a road course. He's won his last 2 from the pole. So he's never actually started at Sonoma, which is interesting. Trackhouse never gave him a start at Sonoma, so he's making his Sonoma debut in Cup. But he won the Xfinity race last year, and it's SVG. Goes
Yeah.
without saying. Here's another one though. So obviously SVG, but I mentioned him a couple times before when talking about road courses. How about Chris Buescher? He did really well in 2022, and or no, it was wait, no, he won last year, right? It was
You won
24 he
last year
won.
at Watkins Glen.
Oh no, oh my God. Okay, I'm misremembering. Yeah, he won last year at Watkins Glen. But his worst finish in the next gen for Sonoma is fourth in 3 starts. So he's hot up there. Um, He's the only driver to do that, finish top 5 in all 3 Sonoma races. And he has, of course, the best finish on all of road courses in the next gen era. So, is SVG going to be up there? Yeah, but Chris Buescher is also, if NASCAR had podiums, podium contention. Let's see the 2 to avoid now. Denny Hamlin. He sucks at Sonoma in the next gen car. His best finishes 31st. Not
Yeah.
happening.
And
Sorry,
last
Denny.
and last year he dropped out on like lap 2, I think, because like the engine blew up, and
He only has
then
one career road course win. It was Watkins Glen in 2016, and it was luck. So, Denny, you're not being
and
anyone's favorite driver this week.
to be fair, this past weekend I forgot to highlight this when talking about Chicago. He did come from 40th all the way up to 4th, and he was battling with Gibbs for second before Reddick got to him, and he dropped to 4th. So I do want to give some credit to Hamlin because he finally had a good next gen road course race, which we haven't really
For
seen
sure,
from
for
him.
sure.
But at the same time, though, This week I'm more expecting Clint Boyer to come out of nowhere and be like, a spoiler, Denny Hamlin just hit like that. Like that was like the probably the only interesting thing that happened in 2023 at Sonoma when and just remember this is the track that Denny Hamlin tried to blame the wall at. Like
Mhm.
after he like when he like in that wreck he tried blaming the wall 2 years ago at Sonoma when he wrecked himself, if you remember that in
Mhm.
that
I
race.
know. I remember
Like
definitely.
and just it was and I know we won't have Clint Boyer to come back and have that happen again, but it just is something that's going to get into my mind a lot when it comes to Denny Hamlin and Sonoma now. But
Moving on. Fourth one. Another one we're gonna avoid. Good old William Byron. Yes, he's leading the point standings, but he's just not great at Sonoma. He's only finished top 10 once in his 6 cup starts in Sonoma.
and
And his
he
average
was
finish in Sonoma is just a 22.
and he was
But
your last place finisher last week as well.
so William Byron, although he was super consistent in the earlier this season, that's usually how they are, is they're super good at the earlier season, that 24 team. And he is still like the best and most consistent.
He's still the point
He
leader.
has He is, but in the last 5 races, he's finished 27th or worse in 4 of them. So
Oh,
he's just on a slump right now, and
yeah,
that's okay. He'll do better once we get probably into August.
in the
He's
NBC.
he usually what he usually does. His season is always like a parabola. He always starts really good. Once you get into the summer, he's very inconsistent. Then it goes back up once you leave midsummer. So in a couple weeks, he'll be back up there competing for wins. But he's just going to be another scenario where he's just not going to be doing too great, I think. And then we have the sleeper pick, and I swear my sleeper pick is the same for every single road course, but it's Michael McDowell,
I
just because he did finish runner-up last year. Um, in the next gen era, he's finished seventh or better every single time. McDowell has also just been really good at road courses this year, just in
he's
general.
always been.
So and especially, in the 34, but that 71 is bad faster road courses. So McDowell's my sleeper pick. Not much more to say about it because every single time we have a road course, it's literally just SVG and Busher for the top two, or maybe Tyler Reddick. And then a sleeper is always Michael McDowell. But yeah,
Yeah.
Michael McDowell is the sleeper pick, 100%.
Yeah, and when it comes down to that, with McDowell, like, I mean, I just also feel really bad after last week. I forgot to talk about last week's issue because he had brake issues, I think, or
Mhm.
something like that, which unfortunately, and he was actually leading for a good while. So, like, I feel really bad. And in addition to McDowell finishing runner-up last year, he finished, I think, third when Daniel Suarez won. And also, speaking of SVG, like in points, he is actually now in the top 30 in points. I'm pretty sure he actually did pass Daniel Suarez in points as well, which, I mean, which is not really the best look for Suarez, especially with him not being in the ride next year. But again, Suarez, he'll definitely have a ride next year. We've
I think
said
the
it.
funniest thing about that all is that SVG is now fifth in playoff standings
Yeah, he
from his
is.
win. So that just goes to show how screwy it is. Yeah, he's fifth in playoff points in the playoffs, and it's because he won 2 wins, and he joins, of course,
But it's two wins,
Hamlin,
not
Larson,
one.
and Bell.
But it's also two wins, not one, so it's
Mhm.
more earned than say Harrison Burton winning one race. So you
Yeah,
could say you could make some argument that okay, this is not a as much of a fluke in ways.
yeah, I'm fine. I am completely fine with SVG being in the playoffs, even after the 1 win. But after the second win, it's like, yeah,
He should be
I'm cool with
he's
it.
earned his place at this point. And if he gets three, then no one honestly, I don't think you should even really argue it. But
I think he's gonna get a third. Maybe it doesn't come before the playoffs, but he's probably gonna get a
yeah,
third.
it could happen at the Roval, which is in the playoffs. In addition, we also have the Xfinity series that are in Sonoma again this weekend. If I can pull up the entry list, as I mentioned earlier on the show, there is one car that will be going home, which that would be a shame, especially because of the long trip to Sonoma. It is one of the longest trips for the teams, which requires the teams to spend more on food and gas to get there, and other travel amenities for the teams. So you might find the entry list a little funny for Xfinity. You'll see why in a bit. So if I can pull up the entry list for the Xfinity series, this week. There are 30, as I mentioned, 39 cars amongst the special entrants. Just trying to pull it up. Pardon me here. You know what? I'll cut to the funny entry first while I try to pull it up. We have Austin Hill in the 21 and Austin Hill in the 35.
We have 2 Austin Hills.
Yes, this other Austin Hill on the NASCAR app, he's listed as Austin J. Hill, and he is from Ohio. I think he's a guy from Trans Am. I could be wrong, but I believe he's supposed to run about 3 races for Gase in the 35 this year. I believe he's going to be running this race, Watkins Glen, and the Roval. I'm positive
Oh,
those are
I remember seeing this guy. Yeah, I just found his Twitter. Yeah, he's 18 years old from Ohio, and
so.
the joke is like, yeah, his name is also Austin. Yes, I found it right
Yeah,
here.
so
Yes.
we got 2 of them in the field, so that's interesting. So, if I can pull, trucks are off again this week. They do not return until IRP at the end of the month. So, as I mentioned with the entry list, Alex Obey is again in the '07. Connor Mosack also returns to the 14 for another week. Corey Day is in the 17 this week. 17 returns. I'm curious how he'll do on the road courses. And this is his home track as well, with him being from California. Riley Herbst is pulling double duty. He's in the 19 for Joe Gibbs.
Okay.
So that should be an interesting run. Uh, there's no 24 this week. Austin Green again in the 32. Uh, Brad Perez is also back in the 45. Another road ringer. Sage Karam, hopefully he makes the field this time in the 53. And here's a surprising entrant. Will Rogers is in the 70.
Really?
Yeah, from Hawaii. Like I'm really glad to see this guy back in a seat because he's one of the most deserving drivers out there. And
100%.
and keep in mind, a few years ago in K&N West, I think this was 2018, he beat Kevin Harvick in that race at Sonoma. He beat out Kevin Harvick, and like I just feel bad for him because I wish more people would sponsor him because this guy deserves he should be in a full-time ride, honestly, in Xfinity or trucks with how good he is, especially on
100%.
these road courses. So like, and he's won a few, and I think he's won some other road races in uh in Arca West and such. Like I think he has,
Mhm.
and Josh Bilicki also in the 91 again this week. So Xfinity should be interesting. I know last year oh yeah, and SVG is also in entered in the 9 again, so I would not be shocked at all if SVG ends up picking up the victory again this week in Xfinity. He did last year and he ended up drifting past Austin Hill to celebrate. That was
Love to see it.
that was pretty funny. The Arca West is also returning this year. I believe this is their first race since Kern County last month at the beginning of the month. So there are 26 cars entered for that race. Unfortunately, that is a drop from like a little over 30 last year. But for West Series standards this year, it's not terrible considering that in West this year we've had car counts get as low as 12 cars.
That's
So
rough. Only
yeah,
12,
so
yeah.
at least they
Guaranteed
so
top, pretty much
yeah.
guaranteed top 10.
Well, not guaranteed for everyone, but like,
Well, you have the guys that just can't run at all, that are just
well,
always in the
West
back,
is a
so
lot more competitive though. There's usually only 1 to 2 guys that are usually off the pace every week. So like West is West should be interesting there to see what happens. And as I said, I know 26 is a big drop off from last year, but it is still like I would still say that is not bad for West standards this year. So amongst the entrants, Todd Souza is also entered in the 3 car again. Eric Nascimento is in the number 4. This is the first time that the 4 from Nascimento Motorsports has entered a race this year after they ran the majority of the schedule last year. Corey Day is in the 7 for Spire Motorsports, pulling double duty. Spire bringing out the ARCA car. Caleb Schrader in the 6. Nice to see him back. Jeff Anton in the 8. Interesting here. This is a second Dale Quarterly car. And what's funny is that Jeff Anton ran the number 3 back at Lime Rock, and now he's running the 8 this week.
mhm.
So are the Dale fans going to start questioning things?
No. They're just not.
Davey Magris also in the 14. Kind of find that car funny because the number font of the 14 is literally the Stuart Haas font. Jack Wood also returns to ARCA West. This is his first start in ARCA West since last year. Kaylee, this is a debut that a lot of people are looking forward to. Kaylee Bryson. She's been heavily tied to Toyota in the past. She's really big on the dirt scene, and I think she's running Trans Am as well. So like, she's a very talented woman. I really hope for the best for her in that 17th car. Willie, and when we have some more Xfinity guys, William Sawalich and Christian Eckes both running. We'll see how they do. Spencer Gallagher is entered for Clark Racing.
Really? I
Yes.
forgot about him. It's good old Spencer Gallagher,
Yep.
Allegiant Airlines. That's
Yep.
Spencer Gallagher?
Yes, he is running in the 23 for Clark Racing, which is owned by TJ Clark, which is a sister team to the
Jeez.
number 24 of Tyler Reif, driving for SPS Sigma Performance Services. And then I'm also looking forward to this entrant because he came oh so close to winning at Lime Rock. Alon Day in the only Venerini entry this week. I hope he can
Venerini,
get it.
okay.
I hope he can get it done because he came really close to pulling off a surprise victory at Lime Rock. And then Dale Quarterly in the 32, not the 4 this week. Gotta do it for Dale this week. Hope Dale Quarterly puts on another great run this week. There's also the fifth. There's also some notable other road ringers like Ryan Philpott in the 52, Rod Nealon in the 68. Jonathan Rayome is in the 72, the brother of Josh Rayome.
Hmm.
That's his brother. Nick Jonades, really nice to see him racing again after he had an unfortunate battle with after he had an unfortunate health battle last year towards the end of the year, which forced him to drop out of ARCA West last year in that points battle. So really nice to see him back in the 77 for Joe for Joe for Joe Nava's 77 team, and then also Will Rogers. And these are just the noble entrants. I'm not counting the full time teams. Will Rogers is also in the 88 for Nike Clower, and that team, which usually tries to run full time, this is their first start of the year. So nice to see those guys back. Will Rogers, I think the Westfield there's a lot of potential winners in that one. I want to go with Will Rogers because of how good of a road ringer he is. I mean, he won this race in 2018, beating Kevin Harvick. So, like, I don't know. I think it's something to really keep an eye out because there's a lot of great road ringers like Dale Quarterly, William Sawalich is running. Kaylee Bryson, I hope she can run good for her debut. Christian Eckes might also be a good win pick for this one. So it's something we really are going to be keeping an eye on. And of course, Alonde. You cannot count him out. So there's also some other news that I've seen in terms of sponsors. Mobile One just announced that they are sponsoring John Hunter Nemechek for 3 races starting this weekend. There's a few other notable sponsors. There's like Michael Roberts Construction on the 38 is 8 Smith. There's also some other announcements. Greg Van Alst has restarted his truck team. Well,
Oh, really?
he never had a truck team, but he is reviving his old ARCA team to run in the truck series. They're going to run 4 races. They're going to run at IRP later this month. That's his home track. I'm trying to remember the other ones. Talladega is another one. Talladega is another one of the races. Uh, then there's 2 more. I think Bristol might be one of them because Greg I know usually loves running Bristol. So I'm interested to see how that 35 runs after his. Okay, it's IRP, Bristol, Talladega, and Martinsville for the 35 team. And then also another announcement today: MBM is bringing the 69 truck again at Talladega with
Nice.
with Tyler Tomasi in that truck. So I'm curious how that's going to run. That 69 truck ran really well back at Pocono, like on pace, especially for Carl Long's team. There were a few other announcements. Circuit of the Americas is set to return for 2026. That was just announced. So we will have Circuit of the Americas. I hope they keep the layout they used this year because the race was arguably a lot better, I think, as a result of the layout. Uh, Toyota is also, and I know this is an IndyCar. Toyota is also uh, being like the presenting sponsor of the Arlington Grand Prix, which is running next year in Texas. So the debut of that. So is that a sign maybe towards Toyota, perhaps Like some people for some reason are already saying, "Oh, Toyota's coming to IndyCar now." Like, well, if Honda does leave as they've hinted at, this could be it for Toyota to jump in maybe and replace Honda in IndyCar and join Chevy. So it's something to keep an eye out on. So I think there were some other things that came up as well. I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah, the beef that we were going to talk about earlier with Bubba Wallace and Alex Bowman, and also Ross Chastain and Joey Logano. We got to talk about it.
Do it.
Yeah, Ross Chastain. I think he ends up getting. I think he got run over by someone in the corner. I think that pileup began with Austin Cindric, if I'm not mistaken. If right?
Yeah. 'Cause no. It was Hocevar. Hocevar lost it coming into the turn.
No, I'm
Door
talking
slammed.
about the pileup at the end of the race.
Oh.
But
Yeah.
we
Sorry.
can talk about that first one too, because Austin Dillon I know had some not so nice words to say about Carson Hocevar.
Yeah. Who honestly, Hocevar? I like Hocevar, but he has gotten on like everyone's bad side
Yeah,
this year, and it
even
doesn't
Austin
help that
Dillon now.
he's with Stenhouse and everything. So
Yeah, and Stenhouse I know got in the barriers too earlier in the race. He did not have a good race, unfortunately for him. But I think when it came to this, there was at the end of the race, Cindric he came in too hot or something on that last restart. I forget who he hit. It might have been Larson,
I think it was Larson. Yeah.
and then Larson he got into I think Logano or Chastain, and then Chastain moved somebody. I don't remember, or am I getting it mixed up? And then Chastain
No, you're right. You're right.
dumps in the next corner Joey Logano, which ended up also taking Stenhouse out of the race as well. So that was interesting because Logano after the race went up to Chastain and they had a little conversation. And then Joey Logano in interviews was trying to say that he should have been that Chastain admitted to it or should have been fined for wrecking him. But
Jeez.
so it definitely got interesting there at the end. And then we have the one that people have been talking about the most, Alex Bowman and Bubba Wallace. I know we hinted at it earlier with the bracket challenge, but uh, when looking at that, they were beating and banging each other for multiple laps. And
Mm.
then Bubba he cut in front of Bowman too early, I think. And then he ended up going around and I think Bowman got some damage from it as well. I don't remember for sure.
Yeah, it was interesting, especially the fact that they were, battling for the in-season bracket. It's like it couldn't have been perfect. It couldn't have been more perfect.
Yeah, so it got really heated there and it was fun to watch. NASCAR, however, has said that they are going to be exploring the incident to see if that there was like a right hook potentially there. Although when I've watched the replay myself, I did not see it as a right hook. So I don't think that they're going to penalize either Alex Bowman or Bubba Wallace. If they have already, we may have already known, but just something to
Hmm.
keep an eye on. We may have to check after we're done here. I don't know if there's any other storylines in racing. The Chicago Street Race, the future of that race. I want to see it stay, or I at least want to see a street race remain in the Cup Series. I think when it comes to Chicago, the atmosphere was incredible, and drivers like Brent Cruz, and they had the demonstration with the electric cars again this weekend.
I did see that,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was Brent Cruz, Raja Karuth, and David Reagan, I think. All three of them were demonstrating. And Cruz said that the Chicago course was the most fun that he's ever was more fun than like two of the other street races that he's competed at, like Detroit and I think there was another one he said he was implying may have been Long Beach that he was no, it may have been Nashville. I don't but Brent Cruz was saying how Chicago was more fun than some of the street races he's competed at in the past in like IMSA, I think, or something, some other series that he might also be talking about iRacing as well in terms of street races. But Brent, you know, it's just something that I think is but and drivers were saying that we want this. Like Denny Hamlin was saying, what if we do like an oval street race? Like that'd be
Yep.
cool. But it's just I don't think it would be possible to do it in Chicago. That's the only thing. It might be, but it would be a bit complicated. But I think also just something to think about is that a lot of people have been voicing for Chicagoland Speedway to return. So that's and I think that the mistake they made, as much as I love, and just for the record, I love the Chicago Street Race with how much it brings in to the people. Like the atmosphere is incredible when I look, and I haven't even been to the Chicago Street Race in the past 3 years, but people who go there seem to love it, and that's
Yeah,
just what I
definitely.
think, and that's why I think it deserves its place. But at the same time, though, it's either that or Chicagoland down the road, and because so many people want that back, I feel the best move would be to have either a rotation between Chicagoland and the street race every other year, or you move the street race to like San Diego, like they're talking about, because Auto Club is probably never coming back at this point.
No,
I
no way.
And San Diego, you wouldn't have to worry about the weather. And just for the record, the city of Chicago said they are open to doing this again. The problem, like they said that they would like to do a two year extension potentially.
Okay.
The problem is NASCAR might already be looking to San Diego by this point.
Mhm.
So it's something just to also kind of look into, because Bianchi, I know, posted a while back that they were very close to getting San Diego on the schedule, and that while Chicagoland could return, I feel like if it did return next year, regardless of what happens with either San Diego or Chicago or Mexico City, rather, I feel like Chicagoland would only really be able to come back with the lower series is based off of what we know regarding the
Mhm.
schedules. Like I don't think any other oval is going to get dropped currently from the schedule. So San Diego, if that comes in, that'll be cool. It's just that I think with the street race, uh, they are offering a 2 year extension. It's just that they also mentioned that they do not want to run it on the same date as they have in the past few years because there's logistical trouble, especially with 4th of July travel.
Yeah.
And I think that one idea that people have floated around is just swapping the date with Atlanta and having Chicago kick off the in-season tournament instead of Atlanta, which wouldn't be a bad move. But I think if you swap that, maybe if you swap it with like Dover, or something like that, just to keep things closer together, I think that you could definitely get a more successful race weekend. Uh, Potentially, it's just that the 4th of July weekend, and this is from the city, it's too much of a logistical problem. So that's
Mhm.
why I think they don't want to do the July 4th weekend again. If they keep it, and I know some have said if Atlanta does it, it would be kind of like it would kind of feel like we were running at Daytona on the 4th of July again. Which, just for the record, I'll just put that out there. That is never going to happen again because the city of Daytona does not want it,
Yeah.
because they already have their own 4th of July fireworks extravaganza in their city, and that's gonna overload the city too much. Plus, you get an additional weekend for people. So I just want to put it out there that we're most likely never going to see Daytona in July 4th weekend again. As much as I would love it, it's just that unfortunately the city of Daytona does not want it. So
Mhm.
I don't think there's really anything else we have to discuss in
That's
racing right now.
everything, yeah.
Yeah, if there's anything we missed, I it's possible we may have missed one or two things, but this weekend, the Whelen Modified Tour is also coming back again to Lancaster, and you know who's competing in that? Ryan Newman. The Rocket is,
Oh, sick.
yeah, Ryan Newman's going to be racing in that again. There's some other notable guys running in there too. That like Lancaster in upstate New York, like they only had 20 cars last year. I hope they get a much larger field this year, but Ryan Newman, that should be a fun entrant in that race, and definitely should give some light to that small short track in upstate New York, just outside of
Mhm.
Buffalo. So I'm really happy I'm really happy for uh, for Lancaster getting Newman to race for them, and this is also his second start of the actually third start of the year for Newman. He ran at North Wilkesboro and the season opener at New Smyrna. So I really am curious to see how Newman is going to run. I hope he wins, but it's just like I think he finished top 5 at Wilkesboro. So I hope Newman runs good. So I think that's going to do it for this week. We will be back
All right.
again next. We will be on again next week for another episode of 500 Miles, reviewing Sonoma and going over and previewing Dover. We may have our co-host on, third guest co-host on next week. I am not 100% sure if we're going to be doing that or not yet. So once again, guys, my name is Adam Relkin, joined by.
Brody Wojcik.
So that's going to be it for this week. We will see you guys next week, and have a great day.